Welcome to the Mariah Jean Fit YouTube channel. I'm Coach Mariah. Make sure you like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos as much as possible so we can reach a broader audience. We appreciate your support and enjoy the video. So, online coaching is certainly not for the faint-hearted. I will mention that there is definitely a lot of glory, as I said, attached to the lifestyle. You know, being able to work when you want, where you want. Like there's all this kind of like, you know, travel and work. I mean, yes, to a certain extent, but it still costs to travel. It costs to have your things stored somewhere or have them, you know, be renting somewhere as well. And I quickly found out that working with a laptop by the beach got very hot and your laptop got too hot too quickly. So most of the time I just work from home in my pajamas, which is pretty cool, getting up, making your coffee, being in your PJs, being able to do a couple of house chores while you're at home as well. But in essence, we do lots of extra time outside of hours. There is so much that goes into it that's not just about replying to clients, but also if we have leftover work that we have to do at the end of the day, it has to be done, you know? So, and even on weekends, attending shows, etc., there are huge chunks of your time taken away from you that basically make those sleep-ins a little bit more worth it and something that you get to look forward to. So, however, obviously it's incredibly taxing. You know, it's a taxing role, and unfortunately you'll not be able to have as much downtime as you would think. So I think it's funny because I'm a really hard worker, and I thought in the beginning, like, okay, this will be pretty cruisy. Like, I get to be an online coach. It's not going to be as hard as going into a job every day, and it couldn't be further from the truth. You wear a lot of people's baggage on your shoulders as much as you don't want to. You do. It's the nature of being in allied health or services is that, you know, people want support. I love doing it. You know, it's like this double-edged sword. I love doing what I do, but it can be taxing and we do need to recharge and plug ourselves in. So, or at least unplug ourselves from our technology. Obviously, especially this applies if you're only the only person actively coaching in your business. You also have to often put your own personal needs and issues aside. So you won't often hear me whinge about stuff. Occasionally I get sick, very occasionally, because I have great nutrition. I've got an immune condition as well, and I've got called psoriatic arthritis, and I've got adenomyosis, which is a very painful condition of my uterus. But I don't talk about it a lot. I don't talk a lot about my personal struggles, especially not online as much anymore, because sometimes it leaves you open for attack, but also in general, it's just nice to have some things to yourself and also not really receive constant bouts of advice from everyone else. So funnily enough, as a coach, we don't like being helped that much. We do, but we're very independent, and most of the time we like to get through things by ourselves because our job, where we're comfortable, is helping other people. So obviously you've got to make sure that you're there to take care of others. You've got to be able to come back stronger. You've got to be resilient. It's definitely what could be considered as an allied health role, right? It is, even though technically, legally it's not, but I would say it is, you know, off the books. And it does take significant resilience to be able to wake up every day and show up for others no matter how you're feeling. Like no matter what has happened in your day, you could be going through the worst day of your life. It could be so hard for you and you still have to show up for your clients. You can't just take a week off, especially if there's no one in the back end coaching for you. So if I was to list every single client struggle, you know, client-related struggle that I've gone through over the past 6 years, I would be here forever, honestly. Like I have heard it all, and I'm not going to whinge too much because if my current clients are listening, I want you to know I'm not going to attack my clients in this part of the vlog and podcast. This is probably just more a case of the common issues and things that we face as coaches coming from clients, and I guess something that makes clients aware that this can be a bit of a pain point for us. So what I will say is that most of the struggle I saw in the beginning of coaching was securely and happily asking the price that I require of clients. So price was a huge thing in the beginning because I definitely undercut myself quite a lot at the start and didn't really understand that I was delivering a lot more than what other coaches were, because we don't know, right? We've never been coached by lots of other coaches, so we don't know what they're delivering. Or certainly, you know, behind the scenes, you know, that goes past the brief on the website. So, and obviously asking the cost to cover my overheads, my GST, my tax, I'll go over that later in the podcast, and certainly to cover my time spent with my clients. So there is just so much to cover where if a client starts arguing with me about my price, I literally stop replying eventually. I don't want to argue with them about, because I've done an audit on my business, and even just to break even, you'd be surprised the cost of what coaching would be just to break even. It's a huge job practicing as an ABN holder or a company online because we still have overheads. You know, in any facet of business, you're still going to have overheads. It's not as glorious as just not paying for a shop front or not paying rent at the gym. So one of my biggest errors early in coaching was thinking that I had to close every single sale, and anybody who came to me who wanted nutritional training help needed to become a client. So I would literally go beyond, you know, the ends of the earth to help a person, even though if they were taxing me or, you know, sending multiple really long emails when they paid for one meal plan and just basically losing money on that client, only to find that they'd probably done that to previous coaches in the industry before, which I wish that clients came with a warning flag sometimes. So that was something that was a real big struggle. Unfortunately, as a coach, you'll need to understand that not everybody is going to be your client or need to be your client, okay? They don't need to be. Some of them will be more taxing than others and possibly not even worth your time. You know, I did the calculation on a previous client I had, and I don't often have these, and she was costing me, I think, like I was literally getting paid less than $2.50 an hour to be able to talk to her and to do her check-ins and everything like that. And $2.50 an hour with the time I was spending on her. And thankfully, obviously got onto that very quickly. But just remember, if you would not want to be paid $2.50 an hour, please do not overwhelm your coach with constant communication. It's okay to do it every now and then. If it's, you know, for example, comp prep is definitely in the final weeks of comp prep, but please respect their boundaries and understand that they're human beings and that $2.50 an hour, if you wouldn't work for it, don't put that on your coach. So this might sound inconsiderate, obviously, like saying, you know, I've got to limit communication, but I'm not a charity. And obviously not very empathetic either. I am an empathetic person, but I don't have all the time in the world, unfortunately. You know, unfortunately, there are cases that are painful, right? These painful people, whether or not you're a coach or a retail outlet or a building, you're building a house for someone, like there are going to be some awful people, you know, clients who are so painful and make your life hell, right? And in this case, the client is not always right, okay? This is a lesson I learned very early on and I still have to uphold to this day. So one of the major struggles I used to face quite often and still do currently is non-adherent clients who simply just don't stick to their plan, dishonesty from clients, and clients looking to have a debate with me about nutrition, which I find to be ironic for them coming to a nutrition qualified professional. I mean, unless you're a dietitian, like a qualified dietitian, and you're starting a debate with me, and even then, now I'm doing my postgrad, I mean, there might be some topics that we're slightly like differently versed on, but in essence, why are you arguing with a professional? Would you literally go to a brain surgeon and argue on how to perform that surgery? Probably not. And especially with their track record, if they've been doing this for a long time, they've got great results, why are you arguing with them? Why do you think you're an anomaly? Or even not returning their check-ins or becoming complacent, negative or pessimistic even when support is provided. So just having negative Nancy's. And then these ones tend to blame everything and everyone else other than their attitude or effort for the reason that they can't follow a plan. I used to spend a long time trying to turn these people around. You know, there's not a lot of them, but I used to spend a long time doing it. Now I simply just say, it's okay. You know, like if we get to a certain point where it's happened quite a few times, it's okay if you need to take a break. Okay. And there's someone who will jump into your spot. They're more than happy to come into your spot because, you know, this isn't the right time for you, obviously. Just trying to shut that down as quickly as possible. If it's a repeated process and this person is just not applying themselves and blaming maybe the plan or, you know, anything else other than the fact that you can blatantly see they just can't be bothered. Additionally, clients being too hard on themselves. So in the other way, possibly becoming incredibly restrictive, under eating their calories, beating themselves up for pushing themselves too hard with their training, and causing some serious damage to their mental and physical health working in such extremes. So this one I probably see more, weirdly enough, or just as common as, so there's always this like little percentage of people, just as common for people to be really hard on themselves as it is for people to blame the whole world for why they can't follow a plan. So it's always one or the other. And there's a whole big bunch of people in the middle who are sweet. They're all good to go, right? I find it's actually equally as difficult to turn either client around, but once they start to trust you and they realize they don't have to thrash and bash and diet themselves into the ground, that eventually it becomes a life-changing experience. So I've had a few of these. They are really heartwarming stories when you finally get through to them. When clients ask me to motivate them, which I find to be absolutely absurd, my job is not to shout at you. I mean, I probably do in the vlogs, but my job is not to shout at you like a sergeant or push you when you're not feeling driven, but it's to encourage you and support you, okay? I don't operate from a position of using my energy to motivate a client. I don't even know what that means. My role is to empower them or you to learn how to motivate yourself. And I don't like using that word because it's a shit word. And much of this is teaching clients that not everything they need to do to reach their goals will feel awesome all the time, okay? This is something that you probably hear a lot in check-ins if you're one of my clients. But to get it done anyway, right? And to understand the end result, what you're working towards, have that in your clear, distinct, view. It's like, this is tunnel vision for what I'm trying to do. It may not feel enjoyable right now, but I will be happy once it's done. And look forward to the hard work that you will achieve long-term from it. So this is my goal as a coach, is not to shout at you and go, you've been a bad girl this week, give me 20 burpees. That's not very effective. And if you think about that in parenting, it's not very effective either. The goal is to encourage, to educate, okay, and to teach you that not everything has to feel awesome. You don't go on a fitness journey and then hashtag fitness journey and everything's fucking amazing and sparkly and shiny and, here's my journey and I'm going to lug the whole thing and it's just going to be glorious and here's my protein oats. Like, no, you're going to wake up some mornings and feel like shit. You're going to have had an argument with your partner, or you're going to have, the kids hanging off you, or you might bloody not have the best workout and you forgot to do your meal prep and you've got to buy a Muscle Chef meal. That is the reality of a fitness journey. And that's what we're here to teach you, is that not every single moment of your fitness journey is going to look or feel glorious. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy for people to question nutrition practice. I'm not like a Nazi, just, believe it because, and obviously delving deeper into the why behind what we do. But it's important to understand that it's backed by evidence-based research. My education is backed by evidence-based research that gets updated every single year in CBD assessments. I'm not giving you my personal opinion. This is professional and from an educational standpoint. I'm not just picking a fucking supplement out of my ass like I've seen a lot of coaches do and go, just start supplementing this because I've seen some papers on this online, just take it. I've seen some doozies. I'll talk about this later in the podcast as well, but this isn't how I practice. I have to practice aligned with what I have been taught in my education because I'm insured and registered for that. And the providers, right, and the education institutions have been researching, or at least they have compiled research from a scholarly level, right, where it's been studied in universities to be able to teach you. So that's the point, is this is not a personal attack. This is not me saying, hey, by the way, there is literally no fucking point in taking that supplement, because I'm not trying to be an arsehole. I'm actually trying to teach you that there is less that is effective in the way of supplementation and probably more that is effective in the way that you apply yourself to your nutrition and your training and your sleep and your water. Very, very basic stuff. So the way that I practice aligns with most of the well-respected coaches in the industry, okay? And I say this with conviction because I know that it's true. I know these coaches personally. I see what they do. I see their work. I know it because I talk to them often. We actually all have wonderful relationships and connections with one another. So if you see us commenting on each other's stuff and talking to each other at events and things like that, there's a good reason for it. We are colleagues. I would consider other coaches my colleagues. So there might be a small difference with how we record things, okay? This is the interesting thing. People are really quick to point out differences, what platforms we use, etc., etc. But if we're qualified, insured, registered, and practicing within our scope, you're going to want to bet that we have the education to back our practice, okay? We didn't get an education in a cereal packet or 10, 15 years ago and haven't done any sort of studies since. If you're speaking to a qualified and well-respected nutritionist in the industry or coach in the industry, they're going to have all of the qualifications laid out nicely for you, not to brag about it, to literally say, hey, I care about you. I care enough to be able to keep myself updated, insured, registered, covered, so that if something fucked up happens, there's insurance there. Okay, not that it would, but also being registered is something that we do so that you can pick us out from the fakes. You can pick us out from people who don't have qualifications, who did get their qualification in the cereal packet, or perhaps just say that they're qualified or say that they understand or they know what they're doing, but it's literally just bro science they've read on the internet. And trust me, there are more of these coaches in the industry than there are qualified ones, and that's quite scary. And they're still practicing. So On that note, another major struggle I've had is obviously the direct comparison to the practice of other coaches, okay? And I don't often talk about other coaches because I just don't give a shit. Unless I respect them, I don't care. Many clients come to me saying, but my previous coach did this, and my old coach said this, and the list goes on, okay? Often being completely opposed to trying a slightly different method, or possibly not, as I said, thrashing or bashing themselves so heavily or dieting so heavily. Obviously, without being too negative, I don't want to get too far into this, I received quite a few signups. I have received a few signups from clients who have been under the care of coaches. I won't say who, there's no specific coach. This is literally very common, incredibly common, actually more common than you'd realize. Every second person pretty much. Under the care of coaches who've simply underfed their calories, not provided diet breaks at all, have put them down, have insulted them, have said nasty things to them, bullied them, do not have a sound understanding of the female menstrual cycle or even energy availability and the importance of this for performance and the menstrual cycle, have no official nutrition qualifications, registration, or insurance for that matter, and possibly are still falling back on qualifications they got 10 or 15 years ago, which are now obsolete. So they don't have any sort of, if you have had updated education, you will have an insurance and registration attached to that. You have to do it yearly. You have to do the updated education to keep your nutrition registration and insurance. Okay, so if your coach doesn't have it and can't show you their nutrition insurance, which is specifically nutrition insurance, okay, in Australia, they are not legally qualified, nor are they insured and run in the opposite direction of that person. So maybe they might be using controversial methods to coach clients, such as food group elimination, forcing clients to eat strange food combinations. I've seen some really interesting things across time, like things like raw meat, just weird shit. And administering advice to take illicit substances, okay? Without any consideration of the client's overall blood and health markers or maybe pre-existing chronic health conditions. There's just no testing at all before even throwing them on whatever the fuck they want to throw them on, which is just horrifying, especially for women. Often paired with excessive cardio, fasted cardio, and perhaps even doing things like dehydrating or water loading clients into shows, and the list goes on. Crazy stuff, right? This isn't to say that I remain focused on what other coaches are or aren't doing, okay? If I got stuck on that, then I would be like, it would be a nightmare. Every day of my life, if I was watching for every coach doing a shit thing to a client, I have to focus on what we do moving forward. But a huge part of the issue with clients that I've faced is the misinformation and re-education required from either industry myths, so I love those TikTok fitness influencers, or other coaches cementing some very strange concepts, including excess supplementation protocol and requirements, which will only obviously heavily tax the pocket of the client financially. So it's interesting, some coaches will be cheaper weekly, but then they'll have you on supplements that then blow out the budget of your original coaching budget anyway. So it kind of makes no sense. You know, with my supplementation protocol, it's very, very, very basic, and it's based on the evidence-based practice that we have found as sports nutritionists over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years of research, okay, because it's come from an education standpoint. So we do spend a large portion of our time battling random fitness industry myths, TikTok videos disguised as plausible nutritional training advice, battling the war against waist trainers, lemon water, and skinny teas. But much of this can be stamped out by figuring out where the source of information came from, okay? Self-proclaimed professional or a legitimately qualified professional, okay? One of the two. It's either, I'm a professional, trust me, or hey, can they actually back it up and show you their qualifications? And generally you're going to see that they're either a qualified dietitian with a Bachelor of Dietetics, or they are an accredited sports nutritionist through SNA Australia. They are literally the only major provider of this who can provide legitimate insurance and registration, okay? And then obviously the pathways onto things like a postgraduate, which I'm currently doing. I know this because we've been educated in this, and it's no coincidence that majority of your major mainstream fitness professionals and nutritionists in the industry have this qualification. It's like, if you're looking at reputable coaches, they're all SNA qualified, okay? There's a reason for it. Or they've got a degree in dietetics, okay? And obviously moving on from this as well, when I do my postgrad, it will be a degree. So it's the equivalent of a postgrad degree. So it's no longer an accreditation, it's a degree. So, you know, we spend all this time battling these TikTok videos, and there's these supplements that are pushed down our throats every single day, and we have to actually go against the grain with this most of the time, and it's exhausting, it's taxing. So finally, a major struggle I've had with clients is the understanding that I'm not a 24-hour service, 7 days a week. As difficult as it is, because I absolutely love my work and I would love to work every day of the week if I could. I'm obsessed with it. You guys know that. But we do need time away from coaching in a career, and this goes out to the coaches as well. Please, if you're burning out, and this is actually the most common reason why PTs and coaches leave the industry, when they're asked why they left, it's burnout. And it's because they over-deliver and they do not ask for what they're worth, okay? As difficult as it is to say, obviously, I do need downtime, okay? I'm not a fucking superwoman. I need to spend time with my loved ones, my partner, who sees how much time I put into my work. We need to invest in our own personal goals. We need to literally practice what we preach and health and separate our work from our downtime. We need days off too, okay? And I say that because you get your days off. Please let me have mine. And I mean that for every coach, not just me, but every coach out there in the industry. If you're not getting any days off at the moment, you're running your business the wrong way and you're burning yourself out. A huge mistake I made early on, and even sometimes to this day, is not setting boundaries with clients, because I think as women, and this is why I say as a female coach, the perspective, we let people walk all over us because we are kind, we are empathetic, we have that softness about us, and we're scared that people are going to be worried or upset if we say anything, okay? So the biggest mistake I made was not putting those boundaries up. And guidelines around business hours. It's now in all my welcome videos. Like, if you currently don't respect that, you didn't watch the welcome video, which is often something that you need to remind them of, because if it becomes a habit and it creeps back in, it's only going to get worse from there, okay? So on that note, I would include a major mistake being the practice of over-delivering as a coach and not understanding or at least establishing your worth with clients. Okay, huge issue, especially with female coaches. I have seen it with male coaches as well, and I've spoken to a ton of male coaches who have actually I've encouraged to increase their prices, or at least, taper back on what they deliver a little bit, or be a little bit more efficient with it in the industry. So we all talk with each other, and we talk about what's appropriate and what's not. But yes, obviously, in the online world, time is money, just like it would be if you were walking into your workplace for the day. The clock starts for the day. Our workplace is our laptop and our phone, okay? So whenever we're on there talking to you, time is ticking away, and your fee should be coming off that, but we can't do that. So alongside all of the adversities, because I don't want to get stuck on negativity, alongside all of the adversities facing coaching, there are indeed some, and in fact, most of my experiences with clients. And I say this because it is. Most of the time, my experiences with clients are positive. That's why I'm still here. And even then, even when they're not as positive or I'm feeling taxed, it's okay to put up boundaries with clients, because they don't always mean badly by it. They're not trying to be negative, they're just trying to better themselves. So it's important to understand that in all of this, if we do come across coaches saying this is really hard and this is really hard, we're not bashing, coaching. We're actually saying, like, people are human, they make mistakes, or they don't really think about some things, and it's a learning journey on, I guess, the behalf of the coach and the client to be able to find this nice balance. So they've been incredibly positive and rewarding, right? Most of my experiences, re-education and re-establishing a healthy relationship with food has been probably my major goal, and it's been incredibly successful. It's been I can't even begin to talk about how wonderful it has been to watch so many people transform internally and externally across the last 6 years. Implementing flexible nutrition methods and food choices, removing food fears, okay, allowing clients to enjoy their meals again and to fit in fun foods, and just like things like eating potato and bread. Like, I can't believe how many people are not doing this while they're dieting, following that 80-20 split, so the 80% whole foods, 20% soul foods, improving digestion. Not boasting that I'm a digestion expert by any means, but simply working with clients and shuffling food choices around to work for them and their digestion. Improving health markers in chronic conditions and issues such as high blood pressure, restoring menstrual cycles. Oh my God, that's been just amazing, being able to do that with women and for women. Improving and managing things like back, shoulder, knee injuries, and the list goes on. And even working with physios, chiros. I'm not a massage therapist. I'm not a person who thinks that I need to do all this myself. Post-surgery as well. I've done a lot of postpartum work. There is so much that goes into coaching and changing lives, but a lot of this is, not just managing injuries, not just managing niggles, etc., but getting people to a point where, I've got a client who's got had a hip operation, for example, a hip replacement, and it's been a complete life transformation post hip operation. So removing obsession with scale weight. This is a big one of mine because nobody is a stranger to this idea that hopefully that I'm 25 kilos heavier than what I was when I was anorexic. And if you can see right now, I'm wearing a pair of size 8 pants. I always talk about, I'm in a size 8, right? And I'm not an anorexic and I'm 25 kilos heavier than I was before. So you can imagine that I was a size 6 to 8 before, not much of a change in pant size. But here's the thing, right? I removed my scale weight obsession, which is a very difficult thing to do, and something that with my clients, I focus on body composition more so. So again, this is a lot of re-education for women specifically, focusing on energy levels, moods, self-confidence, and obviously training performance as well. So removing the stigma attached to dieting, okay? Teaching men and women that it's okay to, and in fact more beneficial, to take diet breaks and even fuel workouts adequately instead of underfeeding calories where required. So, and taking these diet breaks, actually not feeling guilty for doing it and teaching them they're not going to gain body fat in that process. Improving clients' self-confidence and relationships with themselves and others, changing the way they see themselves, their perspective on their health, their life, their journey, creating long-lasting sustainable behaviors and daily rituals, building knowledge to last a lifetime. Improving form, removing gym anxiety, increasing strength, removing stigmas attached to weights training, training clients into marathons. Yes, I do this type of work as well. I'm not all about weights training. Nutrition and training for clients who play in sporting teams. As I said previously, police force training, fitness testing, bodybuilding shows, body transformations, the list goes on. I know that everyone's meant to have a niche in the fitness industry with what type of clientele they work with, and I'm advantageous. I work with everybody. There are not many that I don't work with, and if they are clients that I think I don't have as much experience with that type of area, I will refer outwards, or I try and do as much research as I can to help them and to get them the help from the professionals they do need. So literally hundreds of male and female transformations, which you can see on my socials, on my website. Obviously not all of them want me to post their pictures, but there's so many. Actually, I think I'm running out of room on the website. I've got more to put up as well. I think there's like 9 actually going up in the next few weeks. So yeah, check those out. I would say that being a female coach in this industry is incredibly difficult as well, on another note, to break into in the beginning. Gaining the respect of your peers and also understanding who you can trust and talk to versus who you probably can't. It's an incredibly lonely path when you run your own business, and you may not have any coaches at work or that work with you or for you. And this is where other coaches can become your support network, part of. More importantly as well, you can learn from other coaches and they can learn from you. So here's the interesting thing, right? We're not above and below each other. We can actually learn things from one another, and that's awesome because that develops our professional set of skills. Certainly, obviously, something that we need to see a lot more of in the industry, and we definitely are of late. Thankfully, it's moving that way. Coaches who are working together, okay, for the greater good, supporting one another, referring clients to each other, especially those who we trust. It doesn't mean that there has to be heavy politics involved in your support network, and obviously the support of other coaches, in that network, but simply building the rapport networking with each other, so talking to each other at events and things, and taking a genuine approach to coaching, learning, and growing as a professional. Okay, don't be a sponge as a coach. Don't be that coach that's like, stuck on someone's side unless you want to pay for business coaching. But at the same time, like we just talk back and forth between each other, and it is really nice. Obviously, there's a negative side of some of the coaches, which I've seen in the industry. As I've mentioned previously, it's poor and unsafe practice and protocol, okay? Feeding the client's minds with the nonsense and food rules, which can lead to eating disorders. And I have seen clients come to me with really scary attitudes towards their eating, to the point where if they go off their meal plan, it's just all or nothing. It's like crash and burn, or follow my meal plan and gain 15 kilos, or follow my meal plan. It's really, really sad to see. So unfortunately, this leaves a lot of hard work for us, okay, as coaches, to re-educate our clients. And obviously, there's no coincidence that usually this type of practice is seen with those who are not up to date, qualified, registered, and insured. Like, they're just not getting their studies done, and they're not putting the effort into this for a reason, you know. So if they are still practicing this way, and we do see it, the very like basic meal plans with broccoli and chicken and asparagus and fish and eating only nuts for breakfast or whatever it looks like, it just doesn't look like it's a viable plan. These are the exact same people who believe that they do not need to do further education every single year. And I'm not saying this to get people to go and study with SNA. I'm saying this because SNA exists for a reason. Our education exists for a reason. The postgrads, the dietetics degrees and qualifications exist for a fucking reason. Why is nutrition any different? You know, you would not go to your librarian, right, to then get your gynecology appointment sorted. You wouldn't go, hey, do you mind? You know, I know you don't have the qualification, but you seem to know a lot about vaginas. Like, let's do this, right? No, nutrition is no different. In fact, it's very risky. There are a lot of people being sued. You don't hear about it because they're not going to brag about it. Professionals in the industry who are giving really shitty advice, and they're being banned from practice for the rest of their life as a result. There needs to be a heavier crackdown on it. It is happening. And there are going to be some interesting occurrences when fitness professionals who are not up to date with their education, registered, insured, anything like that, when they are actually put on the spot about it and they have to face the consequences, because there are going to be legal ramifications for it. They're actually doing this at the moment. They're setting up like a where you can submit extreme protocol and things like that. I've got to figure out where it is. If you want to know, message me because I'm going to find out. Actually, Sports Nutrition Australia, ask them. But you can submit this type of unsafe practice to this particular organisation. So thank God, finally. So obviously the other downside to working in this industry, on this note as well, because obviously through my podcast I talk about being insured, registered, and qualified. Coaches who aren't are going to be mad at you. They're going to hate you, right? They're going to hate you for calling them out, even though it's not directly, right? So they're going to be intimidated by you. Far out. This is something that I think I actually have heavily received the better my business has gotten and the busier it's gotten. It's like people who don't even know me are just approaching me or not even approaching me, actually just talking about me as a professional behind my back. And it's awful. It's like, this is just the worst. It's like being the playground bully for no reason. So obviously they're intimidated by your work, by you and your client results. If they weren't, they wouldn't be barking up your tree. If you're covering all bases legally, if you're delivering a quality service, if you're booked out and they are having a go at you and they are bitching about you, okay, another coach doing this, and this has happened a lot. It says a lot about how they feel about you. They're so invested in what you're doing, right? And they're so worried about you as a threat that they have to put you down. And I'm used to it now, but honestly, there are coaches that go as far to try to put me down publicly, harass me, or spread inappropriate rumors. There have been numerous of them. You know, it's funny because anyone listening to this podcast who probably knows one of them, you know, even that coach might be like, oh, you know, that she's talking about me. No, dozens of them, right? Not just me. Lots of them across the last 10 years. Even in gyms I've gone to, you know, gyms I used to go to, some of the Good Lives I used to go to, like there were coaches in there that were just like, you know, what are you, before I was even a coach, you know, what are you going to be a coach one day? They're very defensive and I'm not. I genuinely am not. I think if you've got your clients, wonderful. I don't need to be concerned about what you're doing with them. If your client comes to me and you've been practicing unsafely or your protocol is just terrible, you know, and you're not insured, you're not registered, you're not qualified, etc. Okay, that beautiful trifecta. Then by all means, I will probably have a problem with that. But I will, again, focus on what we're doing with that client moving forward. Okay, it's not my business to dig it up with you. It's my business to focus on the client. So, as I said, heavily experienced at the start of my coaching career as a female coach. It was a huge problem. It felt like I was just being picked on constantly, you know, when I was delivering seminars as well. Even up to today, weirdly enough, mostly coming from male coaches. And I'm not being sexist. It's been my experience. It's always men. I have not received I haven't heard anything from female coaches saying nasty things, but it's always male coaches. It's just that this strange, like they get on this attack and without even having ever met me sometimes. So on that note, for the coaches out there, it's crazy. If a client's listening, this does happen, okay? Like in your workplace, if there's, you know, bloody Sandra who decides to get under everybody's bonnet, there's one of those, okay? there's one of those in the fitness industry in everybody's circle somewhere. And we've got to try, sometimes you just got to kick them out and block them, just distance yourself, because the most productive thing that you can do with that type of behavior is to ignore it, okay? Which is what I've done. I've just ignored it. Like any workplace, there'll be lots of bullies. The coaching industry is no different, okay? So sometimes we have to fight to prove our validity, okay? I can't stand it, but I would say that more so than male coaches. I'm not saying women are disadvantaged. We're not, okay? We're not disadvantaged. I don't think that. But more so that men seem to be more trusted in the fitness industry than women, especially when it comes to bodybuilding and training methods. Like the amount of times I've seen people go to a male coach just because they're a male coach and because they're jacked. It's like, I'm jacked. I'm a female coach. I'm as jacked as you get naturally. Like probably, come see what I've got to say. And it's just sad that you could be in a room, have something to say, and it feels like it falls on deaf ears. And then when a male speaks, it's like everybody is just attentively listening, right? It's like we have an equal standing in the fitness industry. And if a woman is able to achieve an incredible result for herself, think about the fact that she doesn't have testosterone on board, right? Or most, obviously, natural women. And also the nutrition qualifications and things like that women come with that sometimes men don't, sometimes the other way around. But what I'm trying to say is that it's been a pain point for some time. Okay, people are more willing to listen to, this is so fucked up, people are more willing to listen to my partner, bless him, love him to pieces. I have taught him a lot of what he knows about nutrition, like a lot. I gave him a meal plan, right? Like 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago, actually 3.5 years ago, I gave him a meal plan, okay? I have taught him a lot of what he knows about nutrition, but people are more willing to listen to him in a room versus, say, myself. And he's not even a coach who has, I've been coaching for 6 years with relevant qualifications and experience, right? He does something else full time. He works in corporate. Or they're more willing to listen to a random PT in the gym, who has no formal qualifications because he's jacked, as I said. So this is a pain point. It's a really difficult point as a female coach. And if you are listening and you're a female coach, I bet you that you are nodding your head and going, yeah, I've been there. So I find we have to stand our ground with our practice and approach with clients. Assertiveness as a female coach is key. However, we can often be perceived as rude, okay, abrupt or nasty. So that's another thing I get accused of, is like my assertiveness is apparently just rude. Crazy, right? But when men do it, all right, the approach is more well received. So it's like when a man is firm, he's being assertive, he's being strong, he's being powerful. And when women are doing it, we're just mean. But in saying that, that's probably the major difference that I've seen between male and female coaches, is that women have to work a lot harder to receive respect in the industry, even when we're killing it, even when we've got a fully booked client base, even when we're doing really well and we've got heaps of revenue coming through the books and our company is just killing it. It's like we still have to prove ourselves, which I hope changes in the next few decades. So stay in your own lane, okay, is my solution to this. Obviously focus more on what you're doing with your clients than what other coaches are doing with theirs, unless their clients come to you as a new coach. If we are to get stuck on every single thing that we see wrong with the industry, unfortunately, we could become a big old ball of bitterness, okay? So I do talk about these pain points and the struggles, but at the same time, I'm actually quite positive coming out of it. I deal with it very well. It's not like they're new problems, and I've figured out how to get around them and problem solve. It's not something, obviously, many coaches consider, so I'm going to finish up with this one, but the cost of overheads, okay, can be massive. And this is why next time, as I said, you check pricing on a website for a fully online coach. Please understand that there is so much that goes into the cost of running a business, let alone being an online coach. So this is what costs money, plus more. Data storage, Wi-Fi, accounting wages, VA wages, training platforms and apps, Stripe fees. Okay, they take fees when we have automated payments. Health pre-screening platform, yes, that costs money. Website domain, email domain, yes, they cost money. Additional compulsory education, literally cost me $10,000 in the last year just to upskill my education to where it needs to be. Fitness insurance, nutrition insurance, yes, we have 2 separate types of insurance yearly. Comprep insurance, yes, there's a third now, okay? I'm not digging at SNA, but I'm just telling you, we have costs. Yearly nutrition registration. Renting a workspace and electricity for work from home purposes, obviously, because you're not at work, you're at home using your own electricity. Postage, okay, if you need to post things out to clients. Laptop, phone, car, obviously for travel and what I'm doing with you currently and communication, etc., and writing programs. Podcast platforms, obviously this is what I've got with you guys, but there's obviously many coaches in the industry who currently run a podcast. Accounting packages. So if you run a company, you have to have an accounting package, etc., etc. You have to have it. It's compulsory. GST, tax. So there's 2 different types of taxes there. Company ASICs fees. Yes, that's that nice little hidden fee in there as well. Yearly business coaching fees as well. And the list goes on. There's more. There's so many more. I've literally listed what I remembered off the top of my head. And obviously things like, for bodybuilding shows, branded team clothing. So the crop tops, that we give away for free, even our own branded clothing. Photo shoots. Yes, we have to pay to go to the photo shoots that we go to with you. Time to attend shows. And if you pull out, we still have to pay for your slot. Time to attend shows. So obviously it takes, the full day to go to one show or a 2-day show, which we don't get back. Meals at shows when we're traveling, fuel, okay, Ubers, flights if we're going interstate, accommodation if we have to stay overnight when we've got 2-day shows and things like that. Show tickets, yes, we have to pay for the show tickets. We don't get free tickets for shows. And parking, okay, and the list goes on. There's probably more that I've missed. Plus, obviously, learning how to, this is another little added layer, learning how to optimize finances and accounting to work well for your business. So you have to learn that too, because no one else is going to learn it for you. Because even though if you have an accountant, you still have to understand how your business works, and you need to be able to give that information to your accountant and record it all. Because obviously buying a home, etc., buying a car, actually buying a home is really hard as a business owner at the moment, more now than ever. And, it's something that clients need to be aware of when questioning the price of online coaching. So next time you have a look at someone's prices, please understand that all of that plus more has to go under that umbrella, and then they have a little bit left over where they actually make money to be able to pay their own grocery bills and for their own clothes and their own gym membership and anything personal, and then obviously try and save money from there too. So running a business, your current employer runs a business and has these overheads, but they might have more revenue coming in as well. So now on that note, it can be incredibly expensive to run a full-time business as an online coach and to do it well. It's important to understand that, to do it well, to deliver a quality and polished service so that, that you are professional in what you do and it's not just, typing up a Word document and replying back with an email typed as well. There's more that goes into polishing it and making sure that it looks good. And also the apps that we invest money into as well work well for you and your accountability. So, it's proven that using a training app is going to help a client be more accountable. And we can see it on the back end as well, so we can see what you're doing. On that note, to finish the podcast, because it's a long one, I actually have a business course available for once-off purchase. I am going to plug myself in this because why not? Or a subscription. So for $500 up front or 8 weeks at $70 a week. Yes, I do this in the background as well. I've had numerous business clients. I just don't talk about them very much. But I definitely do that. And I also have the option of obviously doing Zooms with business clients or coaching clients ongoing too. So that's something that I provided in the past and will continue to provide in the future for other business colleagues and coaches in the industry who are trying to get to a point of doing this specifically full time. I am actually currently looking for another coach to join my team. I did have a coach, Alora. She was lovely and nothing went wrong in our coaching experience. She went and decided that she wanted to start doing hairdressing full time, which was not in relation to coaching at all. So that was a path that she's gone down. I'm really happy to see her happy. So nothing to do with her experience with me. We only had her with a couple of clients on the books anyway. So if you do think that this coaching job or role is for you, like if you align with MJ Fit, feel free to send me a message because I am wanting to branch out. I am at a point where I can't really handle the workload beyond where I am currently, and I do want to expand and grow the business a little bit more. So thanks a lot for listening to the very lengthy podcast, and I look forward to doing another one for you soon. Bye.